Hi again, I'm John Dearie, and I'm talking with our attorney Tom Boyle on the subject construction site accidents, part 2 of our face-to-face series. Let's turn, Tom, to the issue of what generally would you maybe classify as types of cases within the general umbrella expression of construction site accidents?
The amount of different examples I can give you is too many to count, but give you a few examples. Say somebody's working up on a scaffolding or on a ladder and the scaffolding collapses beneath them because whoever put the scaffolding together didn't do a proper job of it. That's something that would give rise to, as we discussed earlier, an elevational related case. You have contractors that are working and they're leaving their debris all over the job site, and you're walking to get to your tool shed and you're close to trip and fall over this debris. This again would also give rise to a different kind of labor law case. If you're walking and then there's a piece of metal protruding from the ground, that again would give rise to another kind of case. There's as many different accidents that occur on job sites, that's as many different examples. You can't even count how many different ways that these accidents can happen.
I would imagine the injuries on these are, generally speaking, rather severe. Back, neck from lifting, and all kinds of course, if someone gets hit by a brick or something, or some debris falling from above, that's a particularly serious injury, a fracture or more serious. What are the types of construction jobs, classification of jobs and trades, that are likely to be injured?
Anybody that steps foot onto a construction site is at risk. The work that these guys do is very dangerous work. From the guys who are the dock builders doing excavations right when a construction site is beginning, to the carpenters, electricians, plumbers, operating engineers, any kind of worker that's doing work on a construction site it's possible for them to get hurt.
There's another group that comes to mind, and that's utility workers too.
Absolutely.
That are out and around, not only doing the work to bring that power into homes and businesses. Question that comes up has to do with taxability. If someone gets an award as a result of being injured in a construction site accident, is that money, that settlement award that they get, is that taxable?
No, any recovery in a personal injury lawsuit is considered tax-free.
Let me turn to another question that I hear very regularly through our mobile office program out in the neighborhoods and so forth, and that's the issue of a person's immigration status. If an individual is out of status and is here working and is injured, are they able to initiate a lawsuit for compensation for the injury that they experienced?
They absolutely can bring a lawsuit. Their status comes into play down the road when you get into the different kinds of damages that you're going to be claiming. It matters whether or not they've been paying taxes, because even though someone might be out of status, they might be paying taxes on their wages. And these kind of things all come into play, but someone's immigration status would never prevent them from bringing a lawsuit.
You made reference to a term I think all construction workers are familiar with, and that is general contractor and subcontractor. What is the distinction in terms of a construction site accident as to who is primarily responsible? Is it the general contractor or one of the individual subcontractors, electrician, plumbers, steam fitters, etc., as you've just mentioned?
All contractors have a safety responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's the general contractor who has the prime responsibility to make sure that all work is being done in an unsafe manner. They are the ones typically that contract with these various subcontractors, and they can make sure that they're doing the work in a safe manner. And so that some other trade that might be working next to you, if they're doing something in an unsafe manner, you're typically not going to go over there and tell them that what they're doing isn't right. It's the responsibility of the general contractor to make sure that their work is being done in a safe manner.
When construction sites are underway, whether it's internally within a building or often on the exterior of a building to get materials and men up to the higher levels, you're involved with elevators and elevator shafts in many instances. Is that a site where accidents can occur, and is that included within the labor law that you spoke of?
Absolutely. There's special regulations regarding when there's any kind of floor opening, including elevator shafts. There has to be certain plankings which have to be put into place to make sure that nobody falls down an elevator shaft, which again is similar to any kind of openings, whether it be a stairwell or any kind of opening in the ground where somebody could fall through and be seriously injured.
And there have been some very, very tragic cases that I know that you've handled with individuals coming onto an elevator, believing that the elevator was secure, and literally falling right through the floor of the elevator to their death in several instances. Horrible stories.
Absolutely.
For the individual, obviously, and their families. What do you think a construction worker should be thinking about doing if they themselves see an unsafe condition around them in their work?
It's absolutely let your foreman, let somebody know.
Shop steward.
Your shop steward, if you're a union member, absolutely, they have a shop steward, you can let them know about that. Oftentimes, mostly on construction sites in New York City where they're bigger construction sites, there's oftentimes a safety contractor as well. And you put them on notice that there's this condition that exists and somebody should repair this before somebody gets killed. And that's how you make sure somebody else doesn't get hurt.
It's sometimes easier said than done for, if you see an unsafe condition, go and speak about it, bring it to the attention of either the safety contractor or shop steward or whatever. I think there's a natural tendency I've seen among a vast number of workers, I just don't want to rock the boat and so forth. But ultimately, those conditions can translate into serious accidents and injuries. And I guess I would suggest and urge person, don't be hesitant to open your mouth and speak about it if you see a condition that you feel is unsafe. If a person's been working for a few months, a couple of years, or many years, I guess they develop a certain sense as to whether there's an unsafe condition. And if they see it, they ought to express that and express it very forcefully.
Absolutely. All employees for any contractor will tell you that they want to make the job move as quickly as possible. And to make a job go quickly, the first thing that's typically thrown to the side is safety. And that's something which workers cannot let happen, because that's how people get killed on job sites.
What are the kinds of injuries that you've tended to see and represent people on based on the construction site accidents? Obviously fractures, and if so, what parts of the body do you see injured more?
We've seen injuries from head to toe, whether it be broken feet with surgeries, knee injuries that require surgery. We see lots of back injuries that require very serious operations. And unfortunately, these kind of injuries are not the kind of injuries that you can go back to work from. These guys end up disabled, and they end up not being able to work for the rest of their lives because of an on-the-job site accident.
On the issue of the value of a case when an individual has been injured, a worker's been injured in this setting, what does it mean when a person can't go back to work? That's the ultimate horrific thing. Someone has developed a skill as a carpenter, they have a serious injury and can't get back to work. How is that calculated into the settlement amount?
Well, lost wages absolutely make up a huge portion of what your claim is. One portion of it is the past lost wages for any lost wages you've had from the day of the accident until when the case settles. And then the more significant portion most times is the future lost wages. And by lost wages, we don't just mean the money you're making. We also mean the loss of union benefits, decrease in pension benefits, decrease in health care. These kind of things, which our union members here in New York City, they've got very strong unions and they've got great benefits. And if they're no longer able to work, they oftentimes lose these benefits. And that has a very significant economic loss.
Who basically calculates, because it sounds like there's a lot of factors that have to go into it, when you're dealing with a case to be able to present it to a jury or present it in negotiations, how are those economic factors calculated?
We typically will rely on various economic experts who will take all the information as presented in the case, look at what somebody was making per year beforehand, we look at what their union benefits were and what their pension was projected to be, and then take into account what they're making now and the decrease in what their wages are now. And you add up those numbers over the years until the age of retirement, and they end up being astronomical numbers, the economic loss that these guys suffered because of an on-the-job site injury.
To end our discussion on our face-to-face series, Tom, if someone wants to get a hold of you and is watching this, either as a current client or a prospective client, if they had questions, how would the best way for them to be in touch with you?
The best number to reach us is you can call us on the 1-800-I-AM-HURT number. They can also call us at 212-980-0404. I can also be reached on email at tb@johndeary.com.
Well, if you get calls and be able to give some guidance to our clients or prospective clients, that's what we're trying to accomplish with our series, so I'm delighted.
Absolutely, we're always happy to help.
Great to talk with you, Tom.
Thank you, John.
We're delighted to offer, of course, free of charge. Just email us at info@johndeary.com, DEARIE. We're delighted to send you one of our free brochures. It's in a question and answer format, and people over the years have found it to be informative, and that's our goal. It's been written by our attorneys, and many of the topics that we've discussed here are going to be covered also in the brochure. Just give us an email, info@johndeary.com. Tell us your email address. We can email it to you, or we'd be delighted to put it in the mail. Feel free to ask us about it.